exposing hypocrisy, bad faith arguments, and outright lies. This is Agora America.
You ever look at the modern American left and wonder, how does that even work? You've got all these different groups, environmentalists, labor unions, social justice activists, wealthy progressives, all under one big tent. So today we're going to go under the hood. We're going to dissect the anatomy of this coalition based on some recent political analysis and really look at the hidden mechanics that hold this complex and, often contradictory alliance together. And that right there, that's the big puzzle, isn't it? How do you get a team of rivals, people whose core interests sometimes clash, to all march in the same direction? I mean, what's the secret sauce? That's the huge question this analysis really tries to answer. So, to figure this out, we're going to break it down into 4 parts. First, we'll look at the demographic DNA of the coalition. Then, we'll dive right into the paradox of its internal conflicts. After that, we'll talk about the ideological glue that binds it all together. And finally, we'll look at the psychological engine that really powers this whole machine.
All right, first up, it all starts with the numbers. The entire strategy of the coalition isn't really a choice. It's more like a mathematical reality, a demographic imperative. You just have to look at the data to see why it's built the way it is. Now, check out these charts. They tell a really dramatic story. In just a couple of decades, the Democratic Party has gone from being a majority white coalition to what this analysis calls a coalition of minorities. And look, this isn't just some interesting factoid for a textbook. This single shift is the absolute key to understanding their entire political strategy. It changes everything. So this demographic shift creates what the analysis calls a structural imperative. Think of it this way. If your entire team is made up of groups that have traditionally been outside the mainstream power structure, your only real strategy is to challenge that structure itself. You have to question what's considered normal. It's not just a political preference, it's a strategy for survival. Okay, but here's the huge catch. When you build a tent that big, with so many different people, you're pretty much guaranteed to have some serious drama inside. And this brings us to what the source calls the coalescence paradox, that constant, unavoidable tension between the need for unity on one hand and the very real conflicts of interest on the other. This table really lays out the fault lines. I mean, just look at the second one, environmentalism versus labor unions. How do you square a push for green policies that could shut down a factory with protecting the jobs of the union workers in that factory? It's a classic jobs versus the environment problem. The analysis suggests that to manage this, the coalition relies on what it calls foxhole solidarity, basically uniting against a common enemy to make everyone forget they're disagreeing with each other. And a really vivid real-world example of this is the Queers for Palestine movement, which the source brings up. This really highlights the deep tension between the coalition's stated goal of global LGBTQ+ rights and its support for a cause where, on the ground, those rights are often under threat. This is a classic case of values clashing right inside the big tent. So how in the world do they navigate these contradictions? Well, according to this analysis, it all comes down to the power of a good story. The big, unifying narrative of fighting oppression becomes way more important than the messy details of policy or the actual material needs of any single group. The story is what matters most. Okay, so if this grand narrative is the key, what's the actual ideological glue that holds it all together? What makes that story stick? This brings us to our third part. The powerful and, according to this analysis, absolutely central idea of victimhood as political capital. This quote, wow, it really gets right to the heart of it. It suggests that in this framework, victimhood isn't just about suffering. It's actually reframed as a source of moral purity and authority. It's how you claim the moral high ground, which gives you incredible leverage in any debate. And the logic laid out in the analysis is actually pretty straightforward. First, you define the entire system, society, institutions, all of it, as fundamentally corrupt and oppressive. From there, you conclude there's just no point in trying to fix it or work within its rules. And that, step 3, gives you the moral justification you need to reject its norms or even tear the whole thing down. And the end result of this logic is something the analysis calls normative relativism. Basically, it's a situation where there are no fixed universal rules of conduct anymore. Instead, every rule, every tradition, every social norm is constantly on trial, and its legitimacy is judged almost entirely on whether or not it helps groups that are defined as marginalized. It's a recipe for constant social change and, well, destabilization.
So you've got this incredibly complex coalition, full of contradictions and running on this intense ideological fuel. How does it not just survive, but actually thrive and mobilize people? Well, that's what we're going to dig into in our last section, the engine of mobilization.
The analysis points to a secret weapon here, something it calls political mimicry. You can think of it like a political fashion trend. The base adopts the vocabulary, the arguments, the moral language of the elites, not always because they've deeply researched it, but because it's a powerful social signal. It says, I'm one of you, I'm on the right team. And as a tool for getting a lot of people on the same page, fast, it's incredibly effective. And this mimicry gets supercharged by a few really powerful forces. You've got affective polarization, which is a fancy way of saying it's not just about disagreeing with the other side, it's about having a deep, gut-level dislike for them. Then you have social media echo chambers, which we all know about, constantly reinforcing the message. And as the source points out, you can't ignore the network of well-funded organizations that are crafting and spreading these narratives 24/7. So what's the big takeaway? The analysis concludes that this coalition runs on emotion, not on logic. The whole system is designed for high emotional engagement and very low intellectual friction. You don't want the base getting bogged down in contradictions. It's a powerful formula for unity, for sure, but as the analysis suggests, it definitely comes at a price. And that leaves us with a final, really important question to chew on. When politics stops being a negotiation over interests and instead becomes a moral crusade of good versus evil, what happens to things like compromise, to moderation? In a world where everything is framed as a moral absolute, is there any room left for finding common ground? And what does that mean for all of us?
This is Agora America.